For attending here today and such a beautiful day here in Plympton-Wyoming. Just to let everybody know here, this meeting will be streamed live and recorded for public viewing on the town YouTube page. And you can go look at that anytime. And I believe that that'll be on. How many years are we keeping that on there now? 4 years on the YouTube channel. So if you want to go back home and have a look at what said and what wasn't said and get after us.
I'll be famous.
So welcome. So the second thing in the agenda here today, if anybody here has a hearing or interest or a conflict of interest in any way, you can declare it now or anytime during the meeting as you see fit. Item number 3 on the agenda today is we have a delegation, Paul Rice and your lovely wife, which is your first name?
Yeah.
So we'll, you want to go up to the podium or sit right where you're at, that's fine.
Oh, we'll give it a whirl here. Give me some place to set my cheat sheets.
Well, everybody should have their letter in your package,
Sure.
just after the agenda. It's in your package.
Here it is.
You got theirs? Yeah.
Chairman Holden, committee members, thank you for your time this afternoon. I appreciate it. I'm here to request your assistance and guidance in placing a gravestone in Dunlop Cemetery. I know you've got different names for that cemetery. I'm using the one that's on the website, but I'm not going to spell them all out every time. I want to erect a stone in memory of my great-great-grandparents, George and Rachel Rice. To assist you with understanding my request, I did provide you with a written submission, which you have before you. And unless you've got questions about that, which I'm more than happy to answer, I'm not going to repeat any of that information. I did, however, want to speak to you for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to try and explain to you why I wanted to do this. And second, an issue of gravestone location. You might be wondering why I want to do this. It seems a little odd to put a gravestone on a 140-year-old grave, but it's difficult to convey my personal motivations, but I'm going to give it a short try here. I want to do so for the same reason that anybody else puts a gravestone on the grave of their loved ones. The gravestone to me is a way of showing respect. And in this instance, honoring 2 consequential ancestors of mine. A gravestone within Dunlop Cemetery memorializes their names and, most importantly, says we are remembered. The more I research my family history and catalog old photos and documents, the more I appreciate the contribution made by George and Rachel to the Rice families in southwestern Ontario and this community. George was the son of a poor English farm laborer, and Rachel, the daughter of a Newfoundland fisherman, are the original ancestors of the many Rice families here and across us with it, Western Ontario, particularly 2 of Oxford County. George and Rachel were early settlers in Plympton Township, and they and their descendants contributed to the building of the society that is Plympton and Wyoming. I know locally the Rice name is faded a bit. Most of us have moved away, but their memory and legacy does live on. Excuse me. When I visit Dunlop Cemetery, something's missing for me, and that's why I'm here. I can wander the grounds and look at the remaining gravestones, but there is none that means anything to me. I very much wish the names of my original ancestors in Plympton appear on a gravestone in Dunlop Cemetery, and I'm asking this committee to help identify a suitable location, affording my great-great-grandparents the same consideration as many others who rest in this cemetery. Now, under normal circumstances, placing a gravestone is relatively straightforward. The requirements are spelled out in your bylaw. However, in this particular instance, one key difficulty. I know my great-great-grandparents are buried in the cemetery, but I don't know where, nor does this committee. And unfortunately, any pre-existing gravestone is broken up in the fence line somewhere or rotted away. The most inclusive cemetery record that I'm aware of is the McCandless map of 1976. And there's a copy of it in the material that I sent to you. But many of the gravestones that are there, including my great-grandparents, are unrecorded. Hence my appeal to you to permit placing a gravestone within the cemetery, albeit we can't put it on the exact grave. In my submission, and the written submission I sent you, I did offer a couple of suggestions as to where, because I have wandered the cemetery a bit as I can. But I did make those suggestions. Please understand, I'm not prejudging any opinions that you may have. I just offered them as possibilities. I also provided a sketch of the gravestone that I'm proposing. I want you to understand it would conform to your cemetery policy, and perhaps more importantly, would be in keeping with the historic stones that are in the graveyard. The older stones are mostly limestone, grayish in color. In my written submission, I provided the best evidence that I can that George and Rachel are there. I have no doubt after reviewing the information that I have that they are indeed there. And I ask that you help me find a place for the stone. And of course, all expenses, whether the town incurs any additional expenses, those expenses are all mine to be taken care of. Thank you. Appreciate you listening to me. And I hope you can find a way to help me out here. And just as an aside, we stopped in on the way here. And a gentleman who lives across the road approached us. And he mentioned about these broken gravestones that are in the fence line. The fence lines in that cemetery are very overgrown. There's a lot of woody material in there, and some of those graves are buried. I know the town doesn't have a fund to pay for these graveyards, but if you ever are of a mind to clean out that fence line and maybe put those partial stones in some kind of cairn, let me know, because I'd be more than happy to make a financial contribution towards doing the work. Again, my thanks.
Thank you, Paul. We talked about this at the last cemetery committee. Very interesting situation. But what I'll do right now, so let the rest of the committee ask questions before I make any final comments of my own. So starting with John. John, what do you think?
Well, firstly, I think when anyone shows interest to provide a delegation to a committee or to council, we hope to hear something organized, brief, and well laid out. And you've certainly done that. It's a great presentation. You've done your homework, that's for sure. The fact that you're willing to pay for it proves you're genuine you are. Nobody is going to offer to pay for something unless they were sincere And so your willingness to do that proves your intent, in my opinion. It's a lovely tribute. I really don't have any questions because you've laid it out so clearly. And I feel it's an honorable request, and I think in my opinion, it'd be great to work with you folks. Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Maybe the only thing that would be questioned is future maintenance. We're not really in the position to maintain headstones and so on. Sometimes we have to, and as far as the inactive cemeteries go, which we're referring to here, I don't anticipate that maintenance is going to be required in my lifetime. You know, they're certainly built to last, but I guess it's just something that might.
Can I offer? I would pay the normal headstone maintenance fee. Just because it's in that cemetery, not Wyoming cemetery, it doesn't change anything. I know you don't have any fund for those cemeteries. And I'm not trying to bribe you, but if you wanted a contribution to put into a perpetual maintenance fund, I'm more than happy to consider it. I know when it was restored, we spoke to some of the people who did the work, and they had canvassed the community for donations. We were not included because they didn't know about us, and we didn't know about them either. But so we didn't get a chance to contribute then. Now maybe has a chance to do so.
Thank you. That's probably all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
John, Pam.
I would love to see something done in memory of your family. That's what cemeteries are all about. And you're right, that's what you go to see. You go to a cemetery is your family. So I don't have any questions either. And I give you my support.
Thank you.
Hello, you want to comment? No, I'm okay. You okay? Okay. No.
Yeah, I really can appreciate your love for your ancestors and memorialize them. And I fully support your cause. I'm quite moved by it, really. Support.
Thank you. Find me a spot.
Any comments, Al?
No, I think it's been covered. That would be, yeah, I would say the same thing. I would like to see something there to recognize my family members, and I would recommend it as well.
Did you have an idea, Al, on the best way to find a location?
At this point, no. A site visit there could be met, and make sure that we stay within all of our bylaws, our street bylaws and stuff like that. Whether it be a cornerstone or an area within the cemetery that we know the vacant.
The two spots that I mentioned in my written submission there. The first one is away from the existing grade, not far away. It's adjacent to the existing graves. It would border on the old schoolhouse grounds, the building that was there. And I identified that because it's still within the graveyards. But as I say, there's no conflict with any possible existing graves. And the second one was further back where there's quite a blank area.
Okay, it's an absolutely interesting discussion. And you know, you talk about your great grandparents. I mean, I only knew basically my grandparents, like great were come from England and never knew of them or anything. So I think it's a very interesting discussion. And also the part of it that I find very interesting is several of our inactive cemeteries, as you very well know, were cleaned up. And some of them were put in gang
Yes.
stone, their graves, stones were put in concrete and, put down the center of the cemetery, and everything was cleaned out in the whole cemetery. Several of those, that's the way they are. We've been cleaning out the one out there, Arrow Cemetery, and in the past couple or 3 years, and Bell has made a mound out there, and all these stones that nobody knew where the graves were, if you know and looked at Arrow, they're all piled around this hill that we had built. So a lot of the inactive cemeteries, we have no idea where most of the people are buried in them. Records, as you very well pointed out, are very scarce, especially when you go back to great. So I do find this interesting, and I find it, just my opinion here, I don't know where we're going with this in the end, but I certainly think there's nothing wrong with it. But however, as you very well said, there's bylaws. We are governed by the government, and same with donation for perpetual care. I'm not even sure we could accept it in that term, because obviously these cemeteries are closed. So there is no more perpetual care funds that come. So donations, that might be a different story. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff. But you know what? I do not see anything wrong with the history that you put in here. I think we'll I think Ella, you did some research yourself, have you not, on this yet?
I tried. What we have in the office is pretty minimal. When the cemetery was active, it would have been a church board that ran it. So all of their records probably would have went to the head of that church. I don't know where they would be now. So all we have is the old one of the maps you actually provided in your package. That's all we have. It's just a headstone map. So it wouldn't go over who's actually located there. And it's all hand drawn. So I did a little bit of looking and I looked on the county archives, but couldn't really find much. So I don't know if those staff is happy to accommodate.
My late father and I actually went to the Baptist archives there or at least we were at the time at the Master University in Hamilton. And there was virtually nothing. There was one very small notebook that had minutes of meetings. And I found my great-grandfather's name in there making a motion for something. But that was all that there ever was for that church. I have no idea what kind of records they kept back then.
Yeah. Well, they're kept at, a lot of the cemeteries are at the church, right?
Yeah.
That's where it was governed, through the church. And if something happens to the church, sometimes they turned over their archives, sometimes they didn't, and that's where we run into problems too. But well, I guess what I would say here, and we'll see what the committee thinks here when I'm done, but I think what we got to do, we'll take this away. We will look at our bylaws, study them a little more carefully and find out if there's any real things that says you cannot do this, which I haven't seen, but we'll look at it more carefully, and then we'll talk to Al, the location. We'll try to put a package together. And then, as you very well know, this is a committee of council. We would have to take this for a final decision to the council, which is not a big deal. I mean, we'll have a recommendation one way or the other, and see what we can do for you. We can't promise you anything today because you very well know there's a system we have to go through.
Yeah.
But it sure sounds, I just don't see any problem with it unless something in the provincial policies dictate otherwise. Of course, we're just the lower tier of government.
Yes.
So if you'll allow us to take it away, we will deal with this as quickly as we possibly can.
I appreciate it.
I don't know when our next meeting is, mapped down there, but
Well, we have one in October.
one in October. So we'll try to have something. We don't make any promises, but we'll try to have something put together Well, we can do.
Keep in touch with them.
Yeah, yeah. So
Do you remember where George and Rachel lived in that area?
Yes.
I have a map of a Plympton Township with all the residents, all the farms laid out prior, around the 1880s.
They, as best I can determine, they moved from Oxford to Plympton about 1867. And the farm is, what's the, Dunlop is on Fairweather. What's to,
Frederick.
London.
is that Glenlackey?
Well, there's a plowing match in between there.
No, two roads over, two sides.
Lackey, yeah.
Camlacky, okay, so they were on Camlacky up towards London line.
Dobbins
Or,
are, well, Norluce's now, but are,
The original house is still there. There's a whole lot of barns and silos on the property.
that's Norluce's probably.
Norloose.
Yeah,
Like the old Dobbin farm though, or?
yeah, Norluce farm, I mean, yeah, Marcus's farm, yeah,
Oh, yes, yes.
yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
So would your map show
Probably
rice?
did, probably would, whatever at the time, yeah. I'm gonna have a look at it tonight.
I have seen, I found them on Knoxville County map. I have never found them on a Plympton map, but you may have maps that.
So as I get home, I'm gonna have a look.
Can you email it to us?
Yeah.
I actually plan to make a few copies of it. It's getting pretty faded, but still legible.
The descendants, Frank Rice owned the hardware store here.
Rodney Rice,
My grandfather was a contractor, worked on Oban. But mostly building houses in. Uncle Wally and Aunt Maggie lived across the road in that big brick house that's,
across from on the east side there.
yeah.
Johnson's farm, yes.
Yes.
So that's what we can do for you. We'll take this away
Okay.
and not sure how we're gonna approach it with council, but we do have this YouTube video. So your presentation was very interesting. So we could replay that back if we needed to with the council. If you wouldn't have a problem with that. Be interesting for them to hear your presentation. If we get into any difficulties, we may not even get to that point. It may just get approved, but it will do.
Well, if you need anything else from me, you'll know where to find me.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well done. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great presentation, that was good.
Moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. 4.1, that the minutes of the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee meeting be received and approved for adoption, and that would be the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee minutes 11th of July 2024. And that was moved by Pam and second by John Van Claver. So all in favor of those minutes? Gary, thank you. Great. Business arising from the previous minutes, no items at this time unless anybody has any questions or anything. No, okay. Okay, 6.1, that the Wyoming Public Inactive Cemetery Committee receives and approves the payables for July, August 2024. That was moved by. Oh, on here. I have one for the accounts. Anyways, you can have a look at the payables there and see if there's anything. Could there be one 6.1? Fold it underneath or something. What's this one here? Let's see.
Have any?
What am I looking for? Yeah, that was moved by Pam, second by John. Okay. Thank you. Okay, payable. Any questions? No questions on any of that? Okay, all in favor? Here, thank you. Okay, 7.1. That was moved by John Van Claveren, second by Hank Beltran, support by Ella Lynn, Executive Assistant Deputy Clerk, dated August 2024, regarding the Wyoming Public Cemetery 2025 price list be received. The committee endorsed the increase of 6% the 2024 fees. And the staff be directed to include the proposed price in the 2025 comprehensive fee bylaw for council's consideration. Discussion. Any discussion on that?
Very fair increase. To bring us up to some parity with other municipalities. Yeah, and we're still very much a fair pricing there. Yeah.
Pam, your comments?
Yep, same,
Robert, we've discussed this before. We know if you go do the comparisons, you feel we're falling behind. And this is just the first year of the increase, so we're gonna have to keep bumping it up till we get in line, so. Okay, then, if there's no other issues, Chairman. I'm sorry, Hank.
How long ago would this have been done in the past? Compare.
I believe the individual in this role before myself had done a comparison a few years ago. I can do them annually if you guys would like to see. It's not a huge task to compile them all. Just so that way we can ensure we're still competitive, but also, you know, exceeding our neighbors.
Yeah, I don't know if they need to be done yearly. Things don't change that quick, but certainly every couple of years. Because it's been, oh Lord, since we did the last one, that's been quite a while. Last term,
2 or 3 years ago.
yeah, before this term of council for sure. Yeah, and we're really, when we see just how far out of whack we are, it's. Yeah. When Ella really said, whoa, we got a problem here, so.
The reason I would question that is, okay, now it's come to our understanding that we were behind. And now we propose a 6% increase. It might be prudent to say within 2 years from now, hey, let's do this again and just see where we land. And then go from there again.
That sounds good. Okay, everybody agree to that?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Okay, so all in favor of that report? Carrie, thank you. Hey, item 7.2. That was moved by Hank, second by John Van Claveren. That the report by Ella, Executive Assistant Deputy Clerk, dated August 22nd, 2024, regarding a damaged headstone. Wyoming Public Cemetery be received and staff be directed to work with the owner, arrange one grave floor to replace the headstone with something of similar size and design at the expense of the Wyoming Public Cemetery.
Where is that located?
Just right at the gate,
The new,
right at the gate as you, to your left as you go in. It's about the third, fourth stone in there. It's a ground mounted stone. One more was trying to negotiate around the stone and a tree right there on the fence, and he clipped his blade based on his deck height, just clipped the corner of it and took a chunk out of the stone, which is only what, a year old,
Just as a year old now.
just a year old, so.
Happy year old
But,
happened.
So are we liable then?
Gray area. Maintenance on stones are responsibility of the owner, but this was our maintenance crew that damaged it. We're kind of in conflict a little bit, so. And stone is not even a year old or just a year old, so.
Do we know which contractor it was by chance?
It is our grass cutter.
Oh, it's our staff.
It's not our staff, no, our contracted grass cutter.
But we, this particular contractor's hasn't been with us too long, right?
Yes, he's been, this is his second year on this one. He took over
Oh,
last year.
Okay.
So,
So could he be approached and?
we're
asked if
having
he'd like to
discussions with
contribute?
him.
Okay, cool.
We're having
Okay.
discussions with him, but I don't know whether to approach him and ask him to forfeit money for it. And that would take away a lot of any of his profit he would get for basically that whole month. I think you estimated $900.
Pay him about 2,000 a month and the stone replacement in its whole is 1,800. I was quoted.
Yeah, we were talking 900 as a split and that with discussions in the office. Once we realized the amount that it would cost him, we felt it was maybe just a good talk with him would benefit more than trying to take money from a guy that we'd end up losing because of something like this.
Well, so we agree that the contractor has some responsibility. Contractor works for us, so therefore we have some responsibility. Could we have responsibility for the bill together? I guess is what I'm suggesting, which seems very fair. So,
Right.
There was that $840 that would have to come out of our budget. Do you think if we covered the 1,000, 840? Because ultimately, I mean, they did damage it. So we're not looking to sink the fella. We're not looking to completely let him off the hook either. So this seems like a nice compromise.
Okay.
Just a little nervous. He does our active and our inactive.
Yeah.
So if he drops the contracts, we're in a bit of a pickle because we don't have the manpower to do that ourselves.
Well, can we talk to him about it?
Yes, I did. I had a discussion with the CAO there earlier this week and did say that I would approach him to have a chat with him about, he's not even aware that he clipped this yet. He is not aware of this. It was brought to our attention and then we started having discussions with the owner.
Because if you look at our board, our committee here, if we damage something and we didn't know it, or I suspect if somebody was willing to make a compromise, we'd want to contribute in some way. So we just have to be sensitive that we don't approach it based on the fear of whether he's going to pull the plug or not. I mean, either way, it's a big contract.
Yeah.
He doesn't know about it perhaps
At this point, no.
at this point, but if he does, I think it's okay to at least talk to him about it. Say, would you care to contribute? I mean, meet him there, or show him the photo.
Mhm.
And I don't know, that's just my thought.
Well, here's my thought. What, if he doesn't know about it, nobody's owned up to it. Can you place the blame squarely on him? Could there have been anybody else in that cemetery running around doing anything?
Not with this.
No.
I reached out to 2 different companies about it. The company that does all our stone restorations and then a local monument company. And also all 3 parties were of the opinion it was a lawnmower blade. So we're quite confident that was the source. And since the stone was only put in last fall, we've only had the one grass cutter for all that time. So obviously we have no definite proof. It's just what the evidence has kind of led us to believe.
Okay, here's my other thoughts. One way or the other, we're gonna have to replace this stone for the family. They're not gonna be too happy looking at this thing, I would think. So do we go ahead and do it and still deal with the contractor like John is recommending? But get the thing replaced so that people there are not, I mean, they're not very happy about this, I'm sure.
No, they were.
Yeah, I would think so.
Is it, sorry, is it like a large chunk? Like would it be something that they could come and do a face on, like a,
Is it there here? There it is.
oh,
We
sorry.
don't have the
That's it.
piece that's broken off, so unfortunately without these. I had asked if they could maybe rough up all the edges to have a bit of natural distress. But that's not possible either, so at this point, it as is or replacement were the options we were provided.
About a 4 to a 6 inch soft maple growing right there where the lawnmower, you could see how it happened. Tried to steer around it, and they tried to stay as big as they can with the equipment to get the job done for basically profit, making money, get the job done and go on to their next job. So I think this is just a whole.
I mean, we all run into those little issues almost every day, maybe definitely now and again, where an issue and it sucks. Well, how do we meander through this sucky situation?
Yeah.
Well, you kind of deal with it and you share the responsibility but if, I mean, they would be a lot more sensitive moving forward. They have to help pay. Not that they're not careful, but yeah.
Yes,
I'm gonna jump in here. I sense exactly where John is coming from. I mean, it kind of shows a little bit of ownership on their part that, hey, it's 95% that you guys were involved with this. Yet I sense a little bit on Al's part that, hey, we don't want to say too much because we might lose these guys. Is our situation like that with this company, that we're not in all that great a comfortable that we can talk to them and without fear of repercussion?
No, I don't feel that right now. Just don't want to, if you start and next, somebody else comes around and says there's a chunk missing out of this stone, and we're gonna get this throughout the whole cemetery, this guy's gonna lose, he's gonna say, why am I doing this? You know, we've asked based on the decorations and stuff that get put around stones to keep them cleaned out of the way, and I've asked him to identify them if they're in his way, that I can get them removed or clean up the area for him. He's never approached me on that. At that time, he said everything seems to be good, but I don't know how it happened, or I'm only making assumptions on how it happened. And the discussion with him still has to happen. So he could say, yes, I'm sorry, what can we do? And it might be done and over with. So that discussion has to happen first.
And I bet you it will. And it doesn't even necessarily, in my opinion, have to be that 840. It would be, we're willing to work it out with you. We'll contribute. Can you contribute?
just a question, how many of these are designed that way? Like, that's a poor design for maintenance of a cemetery, that you got a quality stone sitting that low to the ground. You'd think they'd have the base up, so you got a curb, rather than the quality stone sitting right at
It does have a
lawnmower
curb.
level.
It does have a curb. This must have damaged his tractor too.
Well, if he clipped it on the way by, I mean, he had to have heard it.
And felt it. I mean,
There's no way that he
Yeah,
didn't hear
this is
it.
granite. They're cutting through granite. It had to have affected his blades. So he would have that expense to recoup for himself.
Well, we had to drive over top of it to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there might have been some repair work done after that too.
No. Well, I don't know, it's up to the committee where they want to go with this, but my recommendation is we go concurrently. We can get the stone replaced. In the meantime, try to deal with the contractor to pay for whatever John's recommendation, if he even wants to pay the 840. Could take $20 a month off for his next 4-year contract. Like he's got a long contract, right? But I think
26.
Hank's point about there's some responsibility here needs to be had. I don't think that's unfair.
That'd be great.
anyways, it's up to the committee which way you want to go here, but
Can we ask him to do the other side the same way?
well, if there's more stones like that, I see more coming.
Oh dear, poor guy.
Yes, Ellen.
Just make the suggestion, maybe we'll amend the motion to take out at the expense of the Wyoming Public Cemetery. That way staff has a bit of wiggle room. We can talk with the contractor, and if he's willing to cover anything, then at least we're not, glued to a motion. At least if we get rid of that part, staff will still have the direction to work with the owner to get something,
Yeah.
replaced, but we're not saying we'll cover it ourselves in a motion.
Mhm.
So are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
What,
And even if it isn't an instrument like payment, like that he does all year long or wherever the 6 months on. I think that's a great idea too. That way it's not a big hunk coming out of his.
yeah, tell them,
Yeah,
whatever, how much a month or whatever, a little bit of the time, so it doesn't.
I think that would come to him a little easier than saying, we need $800.
I remember one time, at an auction and you sold, a commercial paint sprayer. And I remember it brought, $600 and somebody stole it right from the auction. So in theory, as soon as something is sold, it becomes that new owner's responsibility. But nobody wanted to stick this guy for $600. So the auctioneer, the buyer, and the seller all contributed. So we all ate $200 and then sucked, but we dealt with it.
Yeah.
And that's the spirit of
Yeah.
when you go talk to the contractors, just sucks. But we're willing to contribute to it and we're hoping you will too. Yeah.
Does this come out of perpetual care money then? Is that,
No, it. I'll have to find somewhere in the budget. We already pulled and used all our perpetual care for the year.
yeah,
We have a line for like third party hired out. So I can stick some of it there, the rest of it. We'll figure it out.
I'm sure there'll be a spot.
so you wanted me to remove, at the expense of Wyoming Public Cemetery, right?
If the committee's comfortable with that, I think that gives staff a little more flexibility to work with the contractor.
Yep. Hank, you're okay with the, you made the motion, and John, you're okay
Yes.
with me stroking out those words and initialing it?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of that? Gary, thank you. Bylaws, no bylaws at this time. Correspondence, no correspondence. 10.1A. It's our draft budget. I'm sure you've all had an opportunity to look at that. Okay, there's two motions here. One was moved by John Van Cleveren, second by Hank. That the 2024 second quarter financial update be received by the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery. So there's two parts to this. We're looking at A right now, the first two lines. You want to have a look at that stuff? Got any comments on that, Ellen?
For the 2024 actuals, it looks like we're on good track for both the public cemetery and the inactive cemeteries. Nothing seems too crazy. Our license fee from the province, they changed their structure for how they determine what to pay. So I definitely under budgeted on that because I used what we previously paid and it's almost double now. So live and learn for next year. I'll budget a little bit. For this 2025 budget, I did budget a little bit higher. Otherwise we.
Anybody else got any comments on the actuals? No. You can see Valley Lawn Care, obviously they're. So the difference in Valley Lawn Care, that's the $2,211 extra. It went from 8750 on the budget, 2024 budget to what we spent 98,880.
It was for inactive.
Well, it says for Valley Lawn Care, grass cutting, all inactive, yeah.
Yep, so that, I believe it was a 3% increase from last year's rates. For this 2024's rates to 2025, that's a 3% difference.
So they're just committing to 2025, correct?
We have them until the end of 26,
The end of 26, okay,
so.
okay. So the 2025 budget, 98,880. Okay. Then anything else, anybody? So the town grant on this particular one is gone up quite a little bit. We were what, 15,230 in 2024, $15,230. 2025, we're looking at 18,480. And I mean, right off the bat, that difference in grass cutting directly related to that increase.
And then also, the quotes for installing new signs at some of the inactive cemeteries. That was just over 2,000 or, no, it was 3,000, so.
We've got in there general maintenance, trees. What kind of condition are we for trees in these cemeteries? Because boy, that can be very expensive.
It can be. We try to stay on top of them, keep our eye on ones that are decaying to the point that they need to be removed or cleaned up. The last time we did anything in there to that nature was a year ago.
Big pine trees.
The big pine trees, when we had that little bit of a tornado come through. That's the last time we did any major maintenance in there with pine trees.
Looks like 3,000 has been covering it, but no, I guess we get into trouble there somehow. We'll find the money somewhere, so. Other than that, the 6% increase. How's that going to affect this budget? That should help us out a little bit, shouldn't it?
Wyoming Public Cemetery budget, for lot sales. Based on the number we have been selling, times the new price. We're looking at around $5,000 more than previous years. And then for opening and closing, about $6,000 more.
Yeah. So that's a big help.
Can I comment on that? You got the aerial restoration here. We talked when we were on our tour out there about cleaning up the brush at the back end of Arrow Cemetery. That would be meaning the trees as well. Cleaning up trees, $1,000 is not really that much.
No, it's not.
Figured we could probably use the general maintenance tree/roads department for some of the cleanup. So there's about 500 in the arrow line itself, and then in combination with the 3,000, I figured that could at least get it started. We can use it. I would like.
You know, that arrow, it's very interesting. That's a big job.
It is.
To go back in there, not only to go back in there and clean it up, but then to maintain it. It's wet, it's all the above, right? I think we gotta have a little more of an in-depth discussion, especially what the plan's gonna be for it. And you heard even the inactive cemetery out there at Mendam. We talked about that one where the stones are all back in there, the graves all going over. You're looking at some pretty big expense to go in there and clean that up and the equipment you gotta have to do it. So I don't know how much effort we're gonna do in 2025 to go in and clean up Arrow. No, it's up to the committee, like. Big task.
It does seem, we were just talking about a monument and that seems to be a priority. At the very least, gathering up all the stones and presenting them properly. And then maybe once that's done, maybe the cleanup of old trees and underbrush, maybe that doesn't seem like as much of a priority potentially, because you want to clean that up so that some of these loose stones are presented better. But if the stones are all removed and placed somewhere else, maybe some of the underbrushes, and then the constant maintenance of that maybe isn't as necessary. I don't know.
I'm not an expert on cleanup, but I'll. 10 to 20,000 bucks would. Really touch that. That Arrow, you look at the size of some of them stones back in there. I mean, they are some gorgeous, all leaning way. I think we're talking some pretty big money. I don't know if there's any grants available for this kind of stuff. I don't know, but I think you're talking some big money there. Like I said, I'm not an expert. You take a contractor back there and tell them what you want to do. $20,000 wouldn't go very far.
No, you made that nice. Mr. Rice referred to it as a cairn. So if there's a stone and it's leaning, it's unsafe potentially. Does it have to be stood back up? Could it not be laying down on another cairn?
I would say if it's still representing a grave, you'd want to leave it there. The ones that are in that hill are ones that we had no idea where they were.
Gotcha.
They were shoved in the side.
Right.
I mean, maybe Mr. Klassen that we hire has some ideas on how to fix them. With a little bit of an on-site consultation with them. And say, here's what we're thinking. What do you, a number?
So could we just do part of it? So much every year, a little bit, so we got it all cleaned up rather than on whole. Huge expense all at once. So I'd say we wouldn't just so many feet of that, maybe 50, 100 feet or whatever, and next year we do a few more and get it all done maybe 3 years.
I think that's a good recommendation, but here's what I think after making that kind of comment. I think we kind of need a staff report from staff, your public works guys, to say, okay, go out and have a look at it. Okay, we're gonna do this section, 2025, and this section, 20. Give us a report on what you're gonna do and what it's gonna cost to do it your way in step by step.
Yeah.
Because I think what else is right, I don't think you're gonna move stones. They're sitting on graves and there's some beautiful stones.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna have to be brought back up in new foundations. So step-by-step process, yeah, because we don't have the money. I don't think the council is gonna give you that much money.
Yeah, in respect to what you're saying, for sure. But do they need to be stood up, or could they stay in the same location but just be laid down?
I see that one big round tall one got the names on.
Right.
Well, there's a couple of them, I think there.
Oh, yeah.
One.
Yeah, there's
Not
some
one,
beauty.
boy, that's a beautiful one. Lay that one down.
Yes.
So I'm gonna reference myself going back to about you made a statement about getting an idea of the cost of this and then going at it with some money, but we don't have the money. You said we, referring to the committee. And then you said, that I don't think council will, I'm assuming, go for it.
Well, that kind of money all at once.
I think that's where it's gonna have to go. Is if we do not have the money, then we have to go to council and say, this is what we feel should be done. Council's gonna have to give their blessing in a one-time fee or one-time grant or whatever and say, hey, go ahead and fix it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Hank, you're right on. But if we were gonna put, you know, if Al said, okay, we'll do that 1/5 of that. And it's gonna cost $10,000 in 2025, we'd have to put that in here right now. Council has to approve this budget. So if we were gonna put in restoration of Arrow Cemetery, $10,000, that would have to go in there. Council would have to approve that because that'd be a big increase in our budget, right, Ella? It has to go to council for.
Yeah, maybe what I would suggest, the past 2 years, it's been noted there's the metal barrier that you guys would like to see removed in it's maybe the west
Mhm.
side of the cemetery.
Mhm.
And then there's some cedar trees, I believe, that have pretty low hanging branches. So we can start simple this year and then staff can go out and get a bit more of a comprehensive plan and pricing together for 2026. And then I can maybe start having a look for different grant opportunities. And if we can get a grant, great, hopefully we could do some work sooner. But we can maybe just start a little more simple for 25 and then look to do a bit more tree removal and pulling some stones out for the future. Would be my suggestion.
I find it's a fascinating discussion about, so that, yeah, that one stone specifically and a couple other ones too. I mean, they're beautiful. They're beautiful, and originally that family decided to invest heavily in that magnificent stone. And then there's another family next to it that chose to commit to a much more small, less expensive stone that, you know, migrate into the future 100 years, only costs $50 to maintain. But this stone costs 500. I'm just using relative terms, but so so why do we have to restore this one? That's gonna cost us 500 when we're only spending $50 on this one. So I don't think it's because it's more beautiful that as the town or the family's not stepping up, do we have to automatically then spend a lot more money on because it's beautiful? Certainly the value of the humans beneath them are the same. So it could be a lot more depth than we think. You know, I mean, it's beautiful, but I'm thinking back to the Lawrence House or the Fairbanks House in Petrolia.
Yeah.
What a bummer that the place is falling apart, but practically nobody can afford to maintain it or restore it. And so, and that's the issue we face there. So we got this magnificent stone. Is it appropriate for us to spend $500 to stand it back up? Or do we just lay it down? And it's safe, it's a lot cheaper, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if anyone is right or wrong or.
You're right, it had names all the way around it, so.
It did.
So if you lay one side, some people are face down in the mud and others are up, you know. So, me, I think that'd be one to keep upright. Me.
Laws
Even if
around,
it's 10 times more expensive. That's our question, yeah.
laws around inactive cemeteries about, like, you have to maintain them, you can't
Gotcha.
just let them go, but. You know, I think we need to know a whole lot more about inactive cemeteries, to be quite honest with you, under
Yeah.
government legislation, under the exact question that you're asking. Are we obliged to maintain that very sophisticated stone versus, you know, it's a great question. I don't know the answer. I don't know enough about the government and inactive cemeteries, even though I can tell you that I was with a delegation in Toronto and we made a presentation to the minister about these inactive cemeteries and the point about we have no money. Have no money to do anything with them. We can't even take the perpetual care money and take and go clear that bush. It's very complicated and so I don't know. I do agree with Albert about, I don't think we can't do it all at once. But if we're gonna add anything into the inactive budget, you'd have to end it up in restoration or whatever. Now, in the Wyoming cemetery budget, we had $10,000 in there for stone restoration. And we cut that in half, $5,000 a year for stone restoration. And actually, that was at the contractor himself recommended that he do so much. And so, but if we're getting back to Hank's point, like, if we're gonna present something to council, that now's the time to do it. It's gotta go in here. So if we're gonna put any money towards what we're talking about here, we better be putting it into the inactive. So do we go for 5,000 for, and then get some staff reports back on the way you would recommend going at that back half of that cemetery? Nothing says it has to be done in 2025, but if you decide, oh, hey, we can do that piece of pie, that section, got $5,000 and maybe, I don't know, Al, you're the,
Well, I feel that, yeah, there's definitely got to be some professional consultation there. I could walk in there and say, that's gotta come, but we all know that there's wooden boxes in that ground there as well. So you're tippy toeing around it, or you're putting matting down so you don't fall through stuff. And working around the stones that are existing there. So there's gonna be some consultation that's required there.
Okay, well, the purpose we're here today is get this budget set, so we know what we got. I don't think we have a clue what we want to do there, to be honest with you, until something comes back to the committee that's a little more defined and how we're gonna do it and when or whatever, so. Do we leave the budget like it is, or do we stick another 5,000 in there and explain to council that, we're looking at a partial restoration out there and or reclaiming or whatever you want to call it?
I think we should. And I like Ella's idea, because even this year when we came, we were like, oh, that iron was still there and the trees weren't. So even if we did do at least that much, people would realize we're on top of it, or at least looking at it and doing something. So I think we should increase it.
Does that iron bar need to stay there? Can't we get rid of it?
Yeah, it's
It's a removal.
get it out of there.
That makes it easier too again.
What did we budget for the mound we put there? What did we budget for that? Couple thousand?
It was, I feel like that would not have been budgeted for.
There was money put in there for that, but yeah, we kind of did a lot of the work in-house to save.
I don't know, what would you think, Al, like, I can't see it.
A good faith thing of $5,000 on that. If you don't use it, you can, is there a reason why you can't? You've got a bigger project next year type thing. Can you not carry that towards the bigger project? That way you're not pulling it all out of one pot at once.
Yeah.
So yes, we got $5,000 here. We might use 4. Let's carry the other 1,000 over, and now we got 6,000 to do something next year. I don't know if that's doable or not.
Yeah, we can carry it over. Yeah, same with the stone money on the active cemetery. We were able to carry it.
At least you have that initiative. You're
Yeah.
going in that direction.
Yes.
But would we all agree that for the inactive cemetery budget that we add $5,000 in there for, what are we gonna call it? Not stone, it's
Can you go under general maintenance on that?
general maintenance, I think so.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah. Because that's what it is. It just hasn't been maintained, right? So everybody agree with that?
Yep.
Okay.
But are you specifically gonna apply it to? Under air.
If it's under that category, I mean, if there's something over in the Mandamin where we need a little bit there, you've got it. As well, right?
Yeah.
The general maintenance. I mean, we can do our thing if it's only $2,500 an arrow for what we asked to do this year. Mr. Rice was asking for the others, cleaning up the hedge line a little bit. There's money there for that.
Okay, that's, yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, Ella, you had that. We'll throw in there extra 5,000 on the inactive cemetery general maintenance. maintenance.
Change to.
I don't know if you put something on the side that talks about Arrow. When it's presented to the council. I don't think they're gonna give us a hard time, but they very well might, there's some pretty good increases there.
Yeah, so we'll have to balance the budget, we'll have to add $5,000 to the township grant. So we were already asking for $3,000 extra, so we will be asking for $5,000 grant increase now, just so you guys are aware.
And I think that's fair, and if it gets to the council table and whatever discussion takes place there, if they don't agree with it, then they would recommend it be removed. So worst case scenario. I can't speak for the whole council, but I think it's a good plan, and in the meantime, we can direct Al to have a look at what's out there at Arrow and get an idea what you're even dealing with. How much of it you want to deal with over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. You may go in there and the price may scare you away totally. But in the meantime, I think we all talked a little bit about going to the east side and kind of cleaning that up regardless. That fair enough?
Yeah.
I like your idea of talking with the last or somebody.
Yeah.
Others like it.
See, because even to get Mr. Glassen back in there with his rig to lift it. You can't drive back there. Maybe with a track machine and a. Okay. What else we got here? You're looking at the public budget and anything else on the budget?
Yeah, budget, no, but after budget, I got something.
Oh, okay. Anything else on the budgets? Take a look. This is our opportunity. Tree planting, we don't have any, nothing here for tree planting, it's because we have a tree planting committee now. So we don't mind using their budget. Stone restoration, in the Wyoming, as you can see, down to 5,000 from 10,000. And as you recall, we did the older side of the Wyoming Public Cemetery there last year, both sides, and we split it 5,000 each time. So that should be in pretty good shape.
My question,
Yes.
some of them, they're sunken in the ground, you know?
Yep.
Cleaned out the grass around, but I was thinking that maybe it should have been pulled up and filled in and get it right at the ground level rather than sunk down in there.
I
Yeah,
thought
they're gonna be
they-
covered up.
That's what he was doing, was lifting them.
I see some are still down there. Yeah,
They did some, lifted them up and,
yeah, some of them, yeah, but some were still down in there.
no. We'll have to talk to them about that, because some were sunk down.
Yeah.
A long way down. There's any pictures or any of that?
Cleaned up all around it,
Yeah.
the grass, but. Okay.
Yeah. Pay attention to that, because that's exactly what we identified there the last inspection. And hey. these
They're
things, some of them were
more
sunk.
visible now, but they're gonna get covered up again very soon.
Okay, I don't hear any other comments on the budget, so. Be aware that this will be forwarded to council if this is our final. Ella will update those changes. I think that's really only the one change. Anything else there, Al, that you noticed that you'd want out of it, or?
No, I work with whatever council gives us. I think that's pretty good there.
Be okay, I think I already read that out, John Ben and Claveren. 2024 second quarter financial updates be received by the Wyoming Public and Inactive Cemetery Committee, all in favor? Has discussed that previously to the budget. Carried. And moved by Albert, second by John, Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee receives and recommends the 2025 budgets for the Wyoming Public Cemetery and the inactive cemeteries in Plympton, Wyoming be brought to council for approval. That would be the Wyoming Public Cemetery 2025 draft budget and Inactive Cemeteries 2025 draft budget.
That as amended to the draft budget.
As amended. I just initial that, Ellen. You, all in favor? Carry, thank you. Okay. Number 11, closed meeting. We don't have anything for closed. Number 12 there. Moved by John Van Claveren, second by Albert, that Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee adjourns until October the 10th, 2024 at 2 p.m. or the call of the chair. All in favor? Sorry. Before the final vote, any new business? Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was doing my rounds at the cemetery a couple weeks ago and a man from Fort putting a foundation in for a gravestone. And he said to me, what's the requirement for the foundation for a stone? He's enforced, they have to be, I think it's 2 inches outside of the perimeter of the base of the stone. And there was one right there, it was less than the base of the stone. He says, how's that allowed? I said, I don't know, do we have a regulation on how the foundation, how big it's gotta be? We just wondered, because that was his question. I said I'd get back to him on that, but if he was doing more stone graves in Wyoming. Since Canton closed down.
It is in our bylaw, the requirements. I don't know them off the top of my head. But each monument company was provided with a copy of our bylaw. So they should be aware of what our rules are, but I don't know what the requirement is off the top of my head.
But then he said enforced is required because for grass cutting maintenance, so you don't hit the stone. See that?
Yeah.
Good point.
And that was required 2 inches outside the base of the stone.
And how high the base is out.
Well, the base is usually that much base, and then we got the stone on top of that. Right?
Yeah. Obviously, this stone that got chipped.
Yeah.
Is not out of the ground. I mean, that looks like it's almost level with the grass. Maybe they better be
It's above the
reminded.
ground.
Not too much, is it?
Down very much.
No, it's not out of the ground by very much, but I see. That was the first question I was asked a while ago. This thing don't look.
It's, looks like the base is right at ground level.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's the base, yeah, but
It doesn't-
itself is a.
Yeah, but the base, if
Yeah.
it isn't up high enough, then you're gonna hit that every time with the lawnmower or. Yeah. Yeah, you don't wanna be hitting the good part of the stone. It's concrete, no big deal, but 21. 21. Yeah. So, yeah, see, I don't know how high that is. It is up a bit,
Yeah,
but not,
yeah, the base is down there, yeah, the stone is above, yeah, you're right.
well, maybe they better be reminded to whoever's putting their bases in, the new company. We'd have to look at the bylaw, right, and see what height out of the ground, because this could happen quite a few times if those stones are down that low.
And and it
This-
looks like it's about 4 inches wide though, hey Pam?
This-
Oh,
This stone doesn't have a base, it's just right on the foundation, right?
okay, right.
So if this is too low, maybe we need to, speak to whoever laid this. Make sure they keep them up higher.
Should be a base
Yeah.
underneath, but between the foundation and the stone, but
Anyways, but,
but he was telling me from four, so.
oh, yeah, no,
That'd be 2
that's,
inches, and that's, you got a little bit more, 2
Yeah.
inches there,
Mhm.
but that's required in force.
yeah, this don't look that high, mind you, I'm not standing beside it, but it only looks like maybe a couple inches.
Yeah, this one has a good picture
The
of it.
grass is 3.5 inches long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a conversation that we could have the new company, so.
Well, we need to find out and let them know. If I haven't got anything right now, do I?
You got a copy of the bylaw? Probably
Oh,
somewhere.
probably do, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Helen, you know, would call, tell us you to look at it and give
Got more time than that.
precise what's in the bylaw. I-
Enough about it, hey, huh?
Okay, yeah, sorry, any other new business? Kind of missed that. It was right at the top of the page on the agenda.
That's it for me.
We picked up the bases for the benches today.
We did.
So probably within the next week, we'll see those placed. Took a little bit to get them, make them, but they.
Yes, see someplace new signs for the cemetery entrance. Did I see that right?
Yes, that's the back page back.
Where? Is that every cemetery?
No, so the quote for doing every single cemetery was $5,200. So we're doing, my suggestion is to do half of them. We already have the posts.
Yeah.
Cost of 3,100, then in 2026, we do the ones without the posts. We'll have to do the posts and the signs.
I think these are gonna stand up to the weather. They're the same with the on our perimeter of the town, right?
And our parks.
Are they a kind of a plastic?
Aluminum with a vinyl graphic.
Final grab. Yeah, I heard somebody the other day talking about these kind of signs and, well, I think it was out at our, wasn't it you talk out at our new plaza? About some of that peeling,
Yeah, that was the,
right? The one was peeling because it's that vinyl,
stuck right over
Yeah.
top of the plastic and stuff.
yeah, peeling off, so. Okay. Okay, under new business, Ella, did you want to make any comments on the, what was put on Facebook, about, cleaning up of the cemetery? Maybe we better get that in the minutes so people understand what's going on here.
So Public Works staff, been out recently to start removing, shepherd's hooks and, items that are in contravention of the bylaw. So it was suggested that just so people are aware that we're in doing that, something go out on social media, to let the general public know. Unfortunately, it was not taken very well by some members of the public. There was a lot of negative comments on the post itself, and people sharing it, making pretty negative comments. So, I did speak with the lady on the phone and kind of educated her on why we go in and do it. And the reasons such as the maintenance aspect of it, the cleanliness and aesthetic of the cemetery, quite cluttered. So she was understanding of it and actually took her post down after the fact, so that was good. But yeah, unfortunately, we got a lot of backlash on it, so probably will not be posting it out there and whatnot in the future. I do give people copies of the bylaws when I sell them plots, so they're aware of what is allowed. It's spelled out in the bylaw, and I will be verbally reminding people when I sell the grades. No public hooks, snow benches, nothing stuck in the ground around it. Just in case any of you hear anything about it, it's a situation at hand.
How many in total do you think? How many comments?
I actually shut comments on the post off because there was quite a few negative ones. I think there was 2 on the post, and then I can't see all the shares with the town Facebook, but I think we had like 14. Some of them were in, resident of Wyoming groups or Plympton County groups, and then others were shared on people's personal pages. So probably 5 negative shares and then the 2 negative comments.
We had one, I was cleaning up some flowers there one day. They were pretty dead and the family from those flowers came along and gave me the deck and so I should leave them there and I said, they're dead. You can't leave them there. Oh, yeah, that's none of your business. Sorry. I'm on the cemetery committee and it's my job. They didn't take kindly to that. I did throw them away.
Yeah.
Maybe there was some of your emails.
Well, there is a lot more in the cemetery to be removed. We just started taking a couple more out and then realized, okay, people have forgotten what our bylaw is, so that's why I asked Ella to, I thought maybe it was early enough that we could have put it out in our newsletter with the tax bills, but that didn't happen, so we opted to go to the Facebook and. It'll be an ongoing thing, knowing,
In my humble opinion, yeah, turn the comments off. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with people being informed. In fact, we need to inform them so they're not in contravention of the bylaw to begin with, and then find out the hard way, you know, and when they put something there and all of a sudden it disappears, or where to go. At least this way, they're starting to, somebody was negative, but then they were informed. Talk to them. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, it's the truth. So sometimes the truth is kind of pokes the bear a little bit, but nonetheless, in the big scheme of things, there wasn't too many comments, maybe. Now you turned them off, but usually the comments come pretty quick.
You hate to see the negative ones, like you don't like to see them.
Yeah.
That causes gossip and all kinds of.
Yeah. And I have to believe that there was some that saw it. I saw it. It's a constant reminder. Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for telling me. But they're not the ones that are going to reply or comment. So it's just a negative one. So, yeah, I don't think, I think it's okay to inform.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So I had my mother with me this morning and she informed me we needed to do that.
Aw.
We went down and I wanted to let you know that the pile we're trying to get rid of, somebody's dumping in front of it. Did you see that?
we did that yesterday.
Okay.
We gave approval a 2-day.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Enbridge is moving a gas line.
Oh, okay.
And, so we said, okay, you can dump there 2 days. It's gotta be out.
Yeah, because we followed a dump truck and I said, to Mom, I'm gonna watch and see where he dumps. Well, he did dump where he's supposed to, but then I'm like,
Yeah.
but there's 2 dump loads in front of the pile we're trying to get rid of. So I just thought I'd give you the heads up, but I guess you know, so that's good. But
One day I went through there was a lot of down branches and after windstorm and the gate was closed, so I just dumped it right by the garbage bin there, the whole pile. So if you see that was.
And you know, back to social media, and when was the last time we would have done that by social media? Never. So probably it should be done every 6 months.
and maybe attach the bylaw to it.
Sure. Here's a link to the bylaw.
Yeah.
I did copy and paste straight out of the bylaw. So maybe the wording was very firm and harsh. I don't know.
It wasn't. I
No, I
read it. It was fine. It was just in.
It's a gentle reminder, right? I felt, yeah.
We do tag the items, if we take the time to tag them where we pulled them from.
Yeah.
Hopefully the tags stay on them, but we put them in the Parks building. If somebody calls, says, hey, I'm missing this, we go to the Parks building.
No, you got like, one lady found out the saddle bouquet was missing off her stone. Well, I was the one that took it off and it was dead. So I just threw it in the garbage bin. The rest of the saddle doesn't have to be returned, does it? It just,
I'm not sure that.
maybe, no, I just threw everything.
To my knowledge, they've always been removed and disposed of.
Because the more we inform too, the less our friend is accosted in person, you know.
Okay, I guess my final statement on this topic of social media will be, we need to be transparent. Never feel guilty about being transparent. But I can tell you, they'll let you know if you're not transparent.
Yes.
So you know what's going on. Do you feel guilty about it? And no, do you have to read all the negative comments? No. And that's what I don't like about social media, because even if you try to answer one of those like a rubber ball, come right back and hit you. You're not gonna want to make their comments, they can make it, and yeah, be transparent. Don't feel guilty about that. That was the right thing to do.
You betcha. You bet.
So going back, before I didn't inform you there was new business, moved by John Van Cleveren, second by Albert, that the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee adjourns to October the 10th, 2024 at 2 p.m. for the call of the chair.